we're going to probably take her in front of the judge.
Okay.
He's going to hold her in contempt for, I think right now he's doing 90 days.
Okay.
So, is that okay with you?
Remain silent.
Okay, but you realize you're going to go to Cook County Jail for 90 days.
Remain silent.
Okay?
Okay.
Now you have an option. All you have to do is show us an ID so that we can do a report, and we'll let you go on your way.
I have an option?
Yeah.
We told you that before.
Because right now you're just obstructing and you're in contempt.
Obstructing what?
You're obstructing us from doing our job.
Remain silent.
All right, cuff her. Let's get her purse.
Ken.
Get her stuff.
I don't consent to searches.
Well, we don't care anymore. Okay?
Samantha was finally handcuffed and arrested for obstruction to later be freed without any charges. But what the officers are unaware of is that not only did they commit an illegal act, but multiple: unlawful detainment, intimidation, illegal arrest, dereliction of duty, unlawful search and destruction of private property. Shortly after, Samantha was able to hire one of the best lawyers in the country and sued Cook County for multiple civil rights violations. The case has been going on for a few years now, and the conclusion is not yet known, but a part of all of this that we have is the following footage of both the deposition of Lieutenant Milazzo and Sergeant Jennifer Larson. What unfolded in the following never-before-seen footage is one of the biggest and most shocking proofs of ignorance of the law and ineptitude in police history.
Is it against the law to take pictures of a courthouse from outside?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is it lawful to arrest somebody for taking pictures outside of a courthouse, of the courthouse?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is there something
Keep your voice up, please.
Okay, sorry.
So I gotta get every word because it's on video.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this case at all?
Which case?
The case that brings us here today, that you're testifying in?
Yes.
Okay, and in a nutshell, what's the case about?
I would say that Amanda is, I guess I called you to say that she was outside videoing when she shouldn't have been. So she's saying we violated her amendment rights.
You're correct. When you say when she shouldn't have been, what does that mean? Was she doing something wrong?
Just something unusual, what us as officers would consider unusual.
Unusual, okay.
Having shown zero knowledge of the law, Samantha's lawyer then decides to push Sergeant Jennifer further to try to make her slip even more.
Depending on where you are in the country, Mormons are unusual, right? Depending on where you are, it might be unusual to see a Mormon. Do you get to detain Mormons in those places?
I don't know if people detain Mormons. I don't know if they detain Mormons.
Would it be lawful? Just because it's unusual?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there something unlawful about recording outside of a building?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Let me ask you this. Was Miss doing anything illegal when she was detained?
No, I would say it was not illegal, unusual.
Talking about unusual things, the statement that follows is something a police officer should never even be allowed to say.
In order to detain somebody, what do you have to have legally? Do you know?
I do not know the law legally.
And if you still think that at least Lieutenant Milazzo knew what he was doing, well, you're wrong.
What would you do if one of those people said to you, what's the difference between arrest and detain? What would your answer be?
We'd call legal.
Mr. Gorman, seated to your left?
No. Sheriff has their own legal.
Oh, okay. Their own legal who helps them understand things like the difference between arrest and detain?
Yes.
Gotcha. Was there a lawful basis to handcuff her?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that lawful basis?
Officer safety.
Here, Lieutenant Milazzo has just confirmed not to know the difference between an arrest and a detainment, an occasion in which, if they need help, he indicates they just go ahead and call the officer's lawyer to help them. The question remains then, how can someone work 27 years as a police officer and not know the law?
Did you have any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime?
We had reasonable suspicion to ask her what she was doing and why she was doing it, just to get who she was and why.
I mean, if legal processes didn't take so fucking long and was probably a little bit corrupt in the States when it comes to suing, you know, government officials, law enforcement, yada, 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 you could probably earn a good salary baiting NA cops. You know, you're not gonna get them at all times, but on average, you're gonna earn a pretty good monthly salary doing it as a full-time job.
You and I agree on that,
But
that
it
you had the right
takes
to ask
too
her
long.
whatever you wanted to ask her. Did you have the right to put her in handcuffs?
Officer safety.
For the security of the officers, yes.
Okay. What made her a threat?
Her refusing to give any information that was requested of her.
Was she legally obligated to give that information?
When an officer has asked her for security purposes to give her identity up, yes, we do have the right to ask for an identity of somebody for our safety.
20 years of service, and Sergeant Larson believes that she's not safe unless she runs your name. Not the kind of cop I would like to encounter if I'm being pulled over.
Have you ever heard of something called a Terry search or a Terry frisk?
I have.
Okay, what is that?
I'm not going to say exactly. I don't know the law.
Okay.
Seeing how she has no clue of anything related to law, Samantha's lawyer then decides to make up a hypothetical scenario to further prove his point on how wrong the arrest was.
Police officer goes over to somebody on the street. Let's call the person Mr. Plaintiff.
Okay.
Police officer goes to Mr. Plaintiff and says, hey, let me see your ID. And Mr. Plaintiff says, no. Is the officer now allowed to put Mr. Plaintiff in handcuffs and detain him?
I'm going to object. It's a hypothetical. It calls for speculation.
Yeah.
You can answer.
Okay. I do believe, yes, for officer safety, they do have the right.
Doesn't there have to be reasonable suspicion that the person committed a criminal offense or violated a law?
As I don't know the law exactly.
At least we saw so far how Jennifer takes responsibility and accepts that she doesn't know the law, in big contrast to her lieutenant, who instead pretends not to understand any of the questions the lawyer asks and makes fun of the situation.
If you could go back in time to the day that you arrested her, would you still arrest her?
So you're asking me if I can go back in time?
Yeah.
I don't know how I could do that.
Okay. Did you understand my question?
I did, and you're asking me to suppose whether or not I can go back in time. I can't.
So you can't tell me if you would still arrest her?
I can't tell you what would happen on that day if I went back in time, no.
Okay. Is this an attempt to be funny?
Not a bit.
Are you trying to answer my questions?
I'm trying to answer your question.
You really can't figure this out because you can't wrap your head around time travel. That's what you're saying?
Object. Again, I mean, I'm going to object. It's getting to be harassing again. I mean, is this what the question is? Hypothetical time travel backwards?
Is that really how you interpreted the question also?
Is that what you're asking? If he could go back in time, would he do it differently? Is that not what you're asking?
Yeah, that is what I asked him.
Going back to Sergeant Jennifer, the interrogation continues and her responses don't get any better as time goes on.
Is there any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime, yes or no?
We weren't sure what she was doing.
Okay, so if you don't know what somebody's doing, do you have reasonable suspicion that they're doing anything in particular?
No, but we have a reasonable response to ask what she was doing.
Right. Agreed. You could ask her what she's doing. And when she refuses to answer, are you now allowed to detain her?
Yes.
Who told you this? That you get to detain people who are videoing and refuse to identify themselves when asked?
That is the face of someone getting caught, being held accountable, and humiliated for their illicit actions. Despite always refusing to admit that she had done wrong, everything was captured on camera and the answer is clear as water at this point. But this is not over, as in complete opposite to Sergeant Larson, Lieutenant Milazzo wasn't going to go down without a fight.
Are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment, by the way?
Vaguely.
What does it say in your own vague terms?
No illegal search and seizure.
Right, unless there's
Probable cause.
or...
Okay. That's about all I know.
Okay, all right, good enough. He said that's about all I know. All right, Now, there was somebody else who asked you the same question that I just asked you about your familiarity with the Fourth Amendment, who's in this room right now. Do you know who that person was? My client. Ms. asked you that, didn't she?
I don't recall.
She asked you, are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment? You don't remember that?
No.
Lieutenant Milazzo admits not to recall neither the location in which this happened nor who actually asked him, when in reality, all of us know that it was Samantha and he's just playing dumb and everything was recorded as we saw before.
I talked to a lawyer.
Okay, call your lawyer.
Fuck.
That includes my camera as far as consent.
Well, it's already on.
Are you
So.
familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
Oh, great. Why do we always get the crazies?
I don't know.
After recalling the incident, the lawyer brings up his offensive comment towards Samantha at the time.
If I tell you that your answer was, oh great, why do we always get the crazies? Would you dispute that?
No.
Does that sound like something you would say to somebody?
That's something I did say that day, yes.
So you remember saying that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember saying that in response to the question, are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
No, I just remember saying it.
Why is it that you felt she was one of the crazies?
When people act in a way that is not in their best interest.
How is she acting that was not in her best interest?
Well, at any time, all she had to do is identify herself. We could have done our report. You have an option. All you have to do is show us an ID so that we could do a report, and we'll let you go on your way. And everything could have gone the own.
And if somebody were to threaten you that unless you comply with their demands, they're going to put you in handcuffs, would you automatically necessarily comply with their demands?
Yes.
No object.
You would.
Calls for speculation.
He was able to answer. So you would. So even if there's somebody who is acting as a law enforcement officer,
This other
giving you an
cop
unlawful
fucking
order,
lawyer, he knows they're so
threatening
fucked.
you with
like he can't
detainment or arrest or 90 days
He
jail,
can't even.
if you don't comply with their unlawful demands, you would still comply?
Yes.
Alrighty.
AI.
Is that what you
Lawyer.
expected her to do? To comply?
Yes.
Having heard multiple times the need for a person to identify himself when requested by a police officer, the lawyer then decides to question Lieutenant Milazzo further in the topic.
Is there a law that requires people to identify themselves when requested by law enforcement?
I don't know.
And when asked if he had deleted the files from his camera, he blatantly denies it, despite it all having been recorded by the body cam the sergeant had at the moment.
Did you delete her pictures?
No.
Who did?
Don't know.
You don't know who deleted her pictures?
No.
By the time you got in front of Judge Peter Felice, they were deleted, weren't they?
As far as I know, they were still on there.
You grabbed her camera
Yes.
away from her outside, did you not?
Yes.
From that point until you were in front of Judge Peter Felice, did she ever hold her camera again?
No.
Okay, so you had it the entire time.
Yes.
Didn't Judge Peter Felice talk to you about whether the pictures had been deleted?
He asked for the memory thing so he could delete them.
He asked for the memory thing so he could delete them. Not only did Milazzo prove the lawyer's point of the pictures being deleted, but he also had just involved a judge in the same illicit act he's being accused for.
You just said that he asked you for the memory card because he wanted to delete the pictures. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And if he were to testify at some point in time that he absolutely, categorically did not delete those pictures, then would you want to change your
Forsen,
answer
this
as
is
to
not
whether
fake
you
and
or
not
your
scripted. You big retard
did?
player. When you don't
object.
have
Also
brain, it's
speculation.
better you change fake cots and scripted cots.
Alright. No further links.